For one single day, Earth became hell. Forests burned across the horizon. The sky turned black. Rocks fell from above like raining fire. Oceans exploded upward. The ground shook beneath everything alive. If you were standing there, you would think life itself was ending. And honestly, you would have been right. Because 66 million years ago, something struck Earth with a force so violent that it changed the history of our planet forever. Almost everything died. But here's the strange part. Not everything. Something survived. Something small. Something weak. Something hiding in the darkness. And if that tiny survivor hadn't made it through those impossible days, you wouldn't be here right now. So how did anything survive the event that killed the dinosaurs? The answer starts with a world that looked nothing like ours. Long before humans existed, dinosaurs ruled Earth. Not for thousands of years. Not for millions. For around 160 million years. Think about that for a second. Human civilization is only a tiny blink in comparison. Dinosaurs had already conquered Earth for longer than humans can even imagine. They walked through giant forests. They hunted enormous prey. Some grew larger than buildings. If you looked at that world, you'd probably think nothing could ever replace them. And then, one ordinary day, everything changed. Far above Earth, a mountain-sized asteroid was racing through space. Nobody saw it coming. No warning, no time to prepare. Just a rock around 6 miles wide moving faster than a rifle bullet. Then impact. The collision released more energy than billions of nuclear bombs exploding together. The ground vaporized instantly. Everything near the impact disappeared in seconds. But strangely, that wasn't the part that killed most life, because Earth was only getting started. Debris blasted into space and then fell back down. Across the entire planet, the sky itself became a weapon. Pieces of burning rock rained everywhere. Entire forests burst into flames. Heat spread across continents. Animals that survived the first hours suddenly faced a new nightmare. And then things became even worse, because after the fire came darkness. Massive clouds of dust and ash climbed high into the atmosphere. Sunlight began disappearing. Days became dim, then colder, then darker. Plants started dying, and once plants disappeared, everything connected to them started collapsing. Imagine standing there. No sunlight, no food, no warmth, no idea when it would end. This wasn't just destruction. It was the collapse of an entire world. And here's where things become strange, because you'd expect the biggest and strongest creatures to survive. The giants, the hunters, the kings of Earth, right? But that isn't what happened. The qualities that made dinosaurs powerful suddenly became weaknesses. Large bodies needed enormous amounts of food. Huge animals needed stable environments, and stable environments no longer existed. Meanwhile, small creatures had advantages nobody expected. Some lived underground. Some could hide inside cracks and burrows. Some needed very little food. Some could eat almost anything. Seeds, roots, dead insects, whatever they found. And among these tiny survivors were small mammals. They weren't powerful. They weren't impressive. If you saw one back then, you probably wouldn't even notice it. Small body, big eyes, trembling in the darkness while giants disappeared around it. But while massive predators starved, these tiny animals kept going. Day after day, night after night, waiting, surviving. And surviving was enough. Because slowly, the skies began clearing. Sunlight returned, plants returned, life returned. But the world waiting outside wasn't the same world anymore. The giants were gone. The rulers of Earth had vanished. And suddenly, there was space. Space for new creatures. Space for new ideas. Space for evolution to try something different. Those tiny survivors spread across Earth. They changed, adapted, grew. Millions of years passed. Then eventually, one branch stood up and looked around. And that branch became us. Think about how strange that is. The most powerful animals in history disappeared, but a small frightened creature hiding underground survived. Not because it was stronger, not because it was smarter, because it endured. Because sometimes survival isn't about being the biggest thing in the world. Sometimes survival is simply about lasting one more day. And maybe that's the strangest part of all, because your story might have started with a tiny animal trembling in the dark, while the world above it burned. So next time you think history belongs only to giants, remember this. Sometimes the future belongs to whatever refuses to disappear.